Welcome everybody. I just wanted to do an unboxing video. I got the from ACEMAGIC. I got the AD08. It's a mini PC. It's focused for gamers. It does not have a dedicated GPU, but it does have a very fairly powerful Intel i9 11700 processor. And so this is the box that I received from them. I did not buy it. They just offered it because they wanted me to review it. So let me go ahead and get this out of the box real quick. And we can see what they provided for us. As you can see, it comes with these nice white foam protectors that were inside the box. These just slide off on the side here. And the box is actually very, very nice. It's got a nice graphic of the way it looks. When I previously looked at this, it just sits here on the bottom. It's got some specs on the back. I've got the mini PC, as you see here, the AD08. I've got the gray one. This particular model has 16 gigs. It goes up to actually 64 gigs of memory. This one has a 512 gig storage, and it does go up higher. We'll be looking into that once we do the teardown for it. But let's go ahead and see what's inside the box now. This slides off. This opens up this way. A little difficult with one hand. One second here. All right, now that I got that finally open, as you can see here, it comes nicely protected. Let's go ahead and take that out. It is inside of a foam case here. It has a little bit of a user manual. Comes in various languages, and it gives you just a brief description of how to mount it and a quick installation. So we'll put that to the side. It has nice foam padding inside. Let's see what's in here. Oh, okay, it's got a nice power brick. Not too bad. Nice grounded power supply. Let's see what this is. An HDMI cable, so we can hook it up to one of the monitors. So this does come with 3 4K capability for displays. It does here on the side here. So there's 2 via HDMI, and you can have a third one via USB-C. It's got an Ethernet port, 2 USB ports on this side, 2 USB ports on this side, plus the Type-C connector, audio in or audio out, I imagine. Oh, check this out. So it has a slider selection here, so you can put the PC in different performances. There's a silent, there's an auto, and there's a performance. So we'll definitely be looking into that once we get this powered up. So here, let's take a look inside. As I was moving this around, I saw that this cover actually comes off very easily. It just uses 2 neodymium magnets, I imagine, and it just has 2 clips, as you see here. So this panel just lifts off. And you can see here that we do have a spot here for a SATA, for a hard drive connector, which you could probably put a SATA drive in. And here's the NVMe slot. Like I said, this one came with the 512. And you can see here that it comes with the one that they sent me with 16 gigs of RAM. So this is an 8 gig stick with DDR4, 8 gigs, 3200 megahertz. I did read in the specifications, which I'll be linking below, that you can actually put up to 64 gigs of memory, so 2 32 gig sticks. And man, this machine will probably rock with that much memory. So here, I wanted to show a teardown of the AD08. It has 5 screws and some tabs that hold that covering on top. Of course, I removed the memory and I removed the NVMe drive. And so this is the back side. As you can see that there's the carrier plate for the fan system where the memory was, and then where the NVMe slot goes. There were two screws on the inside that held the motherboard, which I will show during the reassembly. There were tabs along the edges here on all of the sides, and that's how you pry that off basically. I haven't removed any of the wiring. I wanted to try and keep it as I received it as much as I could. So there's the SATA drive connector and the power connector for if you add an SSD. So that comes onto the back side that was facing the other side, and so they have a dual fan cooling the CPU, and they have some nice fins on probably the chipset for the single board computer. So it looks very nicely done. So we will see in our next video after reassembly of actually reloading Windows 11 on it and starting to test it out with various applications and games. But as you can see, it's a nicely compact, very nicely built. Haven't gone through too much of looking through on the motherboard, but it looks like it's very standard in the way they've laid things out as far as describing what the little areas are. And you can see they did do a very good job in engineering wise of figuring out how to mount things as closely as they possibly could. You can see there's some thermal foam on the inside to help stabilize and also move some of the heat away from the CPU. Again, it was 5 screws to take off this back plate. I don't see why people would need to do that normally, but repair wise, this makes this mini PC very easy to work on. So I could quite easily see them in the future selling upgrade boards if you wanted to upgrade your mini PC. So for the reassembly, I've just laid the single board computer carefully back into the case, and as you can see, the 2 screws that I removed was one in the, I guess this would be the upper right corner once this is sitting down properly, and then the bottom left corner right here. Then this cover just goes back. It insets inside of the frame, so you just snap it back in. And you can see where it's nice and flush with the edge here. And then you just put back in the 5 screws, replace the memory and replace the NVMe. And I do have a 512 SSD at home once we get it back. And that's what I'll be installing and reloading Windows. And then we can start testing out the performance of this little guy. Hi all, once again. I wanted to show the webpage for ACEMAGIC. Their website is acemagic.com, and I'll be putting some links for them down in the video description. But if you come here to the main page, on the catalog, and you click on Mini PCs, on the second row is the ACEMAGIC AD08, the Intel-Core i9, which is what I received. So I got the AD08 with the Core i9 11900H, and I did receive it with 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gig SSD NVMe. I did end up swapping that out to a 1TB NVMe and an additional storage of a 1TB SSD. So just wanted to go that currently they do have it on sale because of back to school. It is now September. I received the unit just for review, so I did not purchase it. So they have a very nice website. Again, unfortunately the website's set up for the AMD processor. I received the Intel processor. And as you can show, like as I showed previously in the video, where you have the NVMe slot, the SSD connector, or SATA SSD connector, the memory with the 2 slots. The website says it's DDR5, but the single board computer motherboard that I have has a DDR4. I'm really liking the dual cooling on this mini PC. It keeps it very cool, as you can see, 56C, and it's very quiet. I have it currently on performance, but I will say when I reloaded Windows, unfortunately I lost the controlling software that controls the lights. So I need to reach out to support and see if I can get the install for that. It does support the 3 displays. And again, they have a nice graph. They have a couple of photos showing all of the inputs and outputs on the computer. I want to show you some of the benchmarks that I had done previously. So we ran one benchmark from CineBench. I'll run a small one, but I won't run the complete one because it does take a good bit. But when we ran it the last time, we scored 8597 points according to them, and that's very close to the i9 9880. And I just wanted to show quickly on the UserBenchmark website the difference between those two Core i9s. So the effective speed is about 13% faster. The average score on the version of the CPU that we received is about a good 29% more efficient and a lot more powerful. I think what it really hurts this mini PC, unfortunately, is the fact that it does not have a dedicated GPU. And as you can see, when I did run the full test on this, the PC status we got is red. It's showing that we scored very low, but again, that's because we do not have a dedicated GPU. The processor did very well under test, the memory did very well. Of course, it's got green for the OS because we're on Windows 11. As you can see here on the charts, the processor did very well. The graphics card unfortunately did very low, but again, that's because it's using just the Intel UHD graphics. One option that's available for these types of mini PCs, and some people do on laptops, is to use an eGPU, an external graphics card, and connected via the USB-C port. From my research, I found so far that if you do that setup, you lose anywhere between 10 to 15% of your capability of that graphics card. So if you're using a newer series NVIDIA or even an AMD type graphics processor card, the 10 to 15% probably is not going to be very noticeable. And then it's got some charts here just for some of the more detailed drive specs that it did on the solid state drive and on the M.2 NVMe drive. And here it's got the memory. Memory scored about average, I would say. This is just some memory that they included with it, so it's not anything special other than the fact that it's got some really cool RGB lights on it. And just want to scroll through here, and then they've got some desktop builds, but unfortunately they don't have a string that's in the database for UserBenchmark. But I did find this cool benchmarking software. I will close this out. Well, actually, I was going to show you, so let's just run a couple in the multi-core. This is very CPU intensive, and this is what this benchmarking software typically likes to test. As you can see here, it just starts out by using all of the cores to start filling in the image, and it starts doing the spiral pattern, and it tests this for about 10 minutes, which is why we're not going to do the entire test for everyone. And so here you get the idea. Let me stop this, and we'll get a little bit of a... We don't really get a score because we didn't do a complete test. But I just wanted to show what the CineBench benchmarking software does if you've never seen it before. And here I found the Superposition benchmarking software. And I really like this because it goes through different scenes. And it has some really cool, relaxing music in the background. I am going to run it on the 720p low as opposed to the 1080p medium or the 10p high or even the extreme. And the reason being, again, because this mini PC does not have a dedicated GPU, and so I don't really feel that it's terribly fair to knock the system down on the rest of its capabilities because of that fact. But let's go ahead and check out this benchmark. And as you can see on top, we are monitoring the CPU temp, the CPU load, and the GPU load, and the graphic processor unit clock, which is also shared with the processor. And as you can see there, the temperature on the CPU only went up to 65, and the GPU load was about 20%. And our score was 3678. And as you can see, our minimum frames was 20.95, the average was 27, and the max was 37 frames per second. So overall, not too bad considering that it does not have a dedicated GPU. Next up, we will try the mini PC with some games. Here I wanted to show gameplay in World of Warcraft, another game that I like to play all the time, so this is what it would primarily be used for. Let's go ahead and enter the world. As you can see, we're still about 69, 68, so not too bad. Interestingly enough, we're only 25% on the GPU. Let's see what happens once we get in.
Stormsong has suffered the Horde's stench for long enough. Put an end to their pathetic...
Alright, so WoW is reporting that we're doing 42, 45 frames per second. So it's just gonna fly around for a few minutes. Let's just go ahead and kill some things real quick so we can show. Definitely not taking that on. Use him. As you can see, the GPU is at 100%. CPU temps, no change at all, hardly.
I do not have a target.
And we are hanging out right about the 40 frames per second.
I require a target.
Oh, good. Alright, let's get back up in the air, and we will see what the settings I have here in WoW are. Actually, let's come here where it's a little bit safer. So we go to our options, graphics. We are in primary. We are in 1920 by 1080. We're running 4 on the base game quality. From playing around, I found 5 gave us almost the same performance, but it really had a lot more screen tearing. And let's show that. Yep, so you can see it does lag a little bit. I would be happy either 4 or 5. Again, understanding that this does not have a dedicated GPU, so it's really difficult to push it any higher than that without dropping your frames more massively lower. As you see, we went down from an average of 40 frames per second, now down to about 28, 27, sometimes dipping down to 25. So if you're doing any kind of rating, that's not going to help you out at all, as we all know. So that's why I went ahead and stayed with the graphics quality at 4. And as you can see, it almost doubled it. Alright, so here we are in Overwatch 2. CPU temp, as you can see up there, is about 65, 64. We are running at 100% on the Intel UHD. So I just wanted to show some gameplay real quick. And we'll see if we actually get into something. We'll do some damage. Yep. Oh, let's just do some practice range. As you can see, we're running right about 20, almost 30 frames per second. We've got our latency there. Where's our Genji or Bastion, my favorite? Yeah, I know, I'm not that great. I know, it's just robots. Some health things here. You can see there is some tearing, but again, there is no dedicated GPU, so this is actually not that bad. It is quite playable. Hey all, I wanted to show one more benchmark, and this is the CrystalDiskMark benching software of your drives. The top one is the NVMe drive, and the bottom one is the SATA SSD drive that I installed. As you can see, the numbers are very quick. So, to summarize everything from all of my testing, my recommendation would be that this PC would be a great server board, unfortunately due to the lack of its dedicated GPU. It's a great form factor for its capabilities, and it's very quiet. So my recommendations for them in the future would be more ports internally, so you can connect more SATA drives, or if they can develop their own eGPU solution to sell along with this mini PC, that would be a great thing for them and for us, and would provide people with lots of capability with a very small PC. I'll be providing some more videos in the future as I test this out more. My plan with this currently is to change out the 1TB NVMe drive to a 2TB and increase the memory to 64 gigs and try running some coding software to run some LLMs or some AI programs that I'm intending to write. Thank you, and if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe below, and I will be including links for the ACEMAGIC and the software that I used in this software. Thank you.